Wahahahahaha. My name is Amy2 and welcome to Text Synth. Now that I'm done the Talk to Transformer series, I guess I should start this thing up. And this one's a bit slower, so yeah. Okay, this is pretty weird. Amy2 was digging a hole in the ground that looked like a hole for the whole time. She had her hands over the hole in the ground where she was digging, and was digging with her heels. She started digging up earth to fill her hole in the ground. Why'd she dig it then? She looked up as she was digging and saw the sun was coming up, and she was digging up more dirt to fill her hole. When she did, she saw that she was leaving more earth than she had filled. What? She looked up at the sky and saw that it was a blue sky with clouds moving. She looked up at the earth again. Wait, you looked up at the earth and saw it was a blue sky with clouds moving. She looked down at her shoes and saw that they had gone from blue to yellow. What? As they did, she said, "Ooh, what a pretty dress." She looked down at her feet again and saw it was so pretty. It wasn't so pretty anymore. She looked around again and saw that everyone was gone. There were people with her. What? She looked at her shoes again and she remembered that she had taken them off and had given them to the people who were gone. Oh man, she looked at the ground and saw that it had turned brown. She looked down at her shoes again and they were gone. She looked at the sun again, and it looked just like they were there. That they were. She looked back at the ground, and it was still the same brown color. What a beautiful sight, she smiled. I should be happy. Why did no one come up and see it? I'm going to end that one there because, wow. Yeah, this one you can click to get more. Let's run this one through again. Amy2 was digging a hole in the ground at the side of the house. The house was built over a deep canyon with a steep bank in the river valley. And there were a lot of rocks, so it was easy to get into the canyon from where the hole was. In the hole and in the canyon were many snakes that were digging. So many snakes, it was crazy. She found a nice big snake on the bottom of the canyon, then another big snake, and one on top of the canyon in the middle of the hole with the rest of the snakes. There were a lot of snakes down there. She tried to get some of her snake... What? She tried to get some of her snake in the hole. That sounds like an innuendo. And a snake took hold of it and squeezed very hard. What? And the whole cave was shaking. What is this? She thought that it was great for her. And she was very happy. The snake that got her in the hole was a nice big snake with large eyes. This is really bizarre. She was so happy that she wanted to eat it. What? Did she want to eat? But then the snake that she wanted to eat was getting too much water and it had to escape the hole. So it had to escape on the bottom of the canyon. So it had to get in a new hole at the bottom of the canyon, and she thought that that was great. So in another hole she had to get her first snake in. And she made a new hole at the bottom of the canyon and tried to get her second snake in there. What is this? Then a snake tried to squeeze the hole with a very big jaw, and the whole canyon was shaking. What is this? Oh man. She was so happy that the hole was being used. She had to get the little snake that was hiding in the hole. And it was very big. I thought it was big. Oh, it was a little snake that was very big. It was bigger than the biggest snake that she thought was in there at all times. What? But she could not get it in, and she was trying her hardest. But then her second snake came up, and the canyon was shaking and shaking and shaking. So she went down to find another hole to get her second snake in. But she found that there were a lot of holes that she had to get into. What? Oh man. The snake was getting bigger and bigger. What? And her second snake was getting larger and bigger. Okay. So she had to go up into the bigger canyon, and she could not get her second snake in there. And her first snake kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Then she found another little snake that was bigger than her second one. So she put it on the top of the canyon and put it on top of the second hole that she had to get in to get her... What is this? Her second snake in. But that was also being squeezed by a lot of the smaller and smaller snakes. What? So the first snake just kept shrinking. Then she put another little snake on top of the first and put it on top of the second hole. But this one was so big that it was getting bigger and bigger. So the first snake started getting smaller and smaller. And then finally it was so big that she had to throw away her second snake. What? Okay, one more with this. Because it's starting to get really, you know. The thing is when we first started putting in the holes for the snakes, they were so small that they were just crawling around, and they were crawling around on the dirt. They were never going to get into these holes, but then as we went on, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. So they had to get into bigger and bigger and bigger holes. But when I put them on top of the hole, it was like they had been there for hours and hours and hours. And they're like little worms. So they were... I'm gonna stop there because this... Wow. Okay, this is amazing. I had to change this one to this because it wasn't giving results. Moon found an onion growing in his car's trunk. He took the onions to a local butcher, who then sold him a large onion. The onion weighed 1.8 kilograms. Whoa. The man's wife found the onion and told the butcher that he should make an onion cake. What? That's disgusting. The man made a cake and gave it to the butcher, who in turn sold it to the farmer. What? The farmer's family found the onion and asked the butcher why he had sold the onion so cheap. The butcher replied, I don't know, maybe because I don't know what it tastes like. What? The man's wife bought the onion and cooked it and tasted it, and found the onion very bitter. So her husband gave it to her husband. So he just took it. Who said that the onion tastes like a little boy's fart. What? It's like a little boy's fart or a little man's piss. What? Oh man, I dropped my fragment of of whatever this was. But the farmer's family now found an onion, ate it, and found an ear of corn, which they then fed to an animal they found, which tasted just like an onion. What? And so we came to the final tale of the onion. What? Oops. The farmer's wife found an onion, ate it, and then ate a bite of it. What is this? It tastes like your sister eating her first hamburger. What? What is this? The farmer's brother said that they should eat the onion. The farmer's wife, who had eaten the onion, give me more of this, had eaten the onion, said, "It tastes much better than your sister's hamburger." That was the last word spoken by one of the onion eaters. What? So they died. And so we leave this tale of the onions at once a tale of man and a man eating man for the man's sake. What? And of one man's appetite for his brother. What? What? And of one man's appetite for man's sake. And they... What? What in the world? And then we have the last tale of the onion, which is the last tale of the story of the onion. A tale of man and man having an onion for the man's sake. One man's appetite for his brother, and of one man's appetite for man's sake. There were 3 of these tales, so 3 tales of the onion, but there was not one of the others that the onion did not eat. There was one tale of the onion that the onion did not eat, which was the other tale of the onion. The first tale... Okay, that's the end of that. I can't take much more of this repeating. I like how it literally said that it tasted like, where is it? It tasted like little boy's fart or little man's piss. That is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen an AI say. One more of this. Okay. What? 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 What the hell is this? Mr. Hopper? Ladder Wars? Moon found an onion growing in his car's trunk. He ate it and the onion turned into an angel. What? In the same episode, the angel appeared to Mr. Hopper to deliver a letter. In The Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings, an angel was shown to have the same voice as Mr. Hopper. What? In the Ladder Wars, in the same episode, when Stan gets upset about having no one to play with him, he finds a pair of angel hands. They help him out. In A Scary Little Girl, Mr. Hopper is shown in a graveyard. In The Man with Two Brains, Mr. Hopper is seen in the audience with his 2 brains. What is this? It's listing different bogus episodes. In The Little Giant, the angel appeared to Stan, who was upset and scared about the giant who was chasing him around. Well, understandably. In the puffy shirt incident, what a name. It was revealed that Mr. Hopper is the owner of the puffy shirt shop. What? What? Trivia. He is a fan of the Disney Channel sitcom Girl Meets World. In The Boy Who Cried Boy, it is shown that Mr. Hopper has a very bad temper. A close-up of his face shows that he is not wearing his shirt in several episodes. How are you able to tell that from his face? In the end, his name is revealed to be Herbert. Quotes, "I don't wear a shirt." What? That was pretty amazing. The fact that the onion turned into an angel, that is amazing. This thing is almost better than Talk to Transformer. It's just you have to, like, push it a little bit, and it's kind of slow. What is this? Moon found an onion growing in his car's trunk and began eating it. The onion's flesh, as it turns out, was the raw ingredient which made the recipe go from spicy hot with garlic and ginger to spicy hot with a bit of garlic and ginger. What? And after a few more bites of the onion-infused curry, the onion went from not so hot to somewhat hot. You don't have to eat the whole onion to create the spicy hot flavor. Well, I sure hope not. You just have to eat the white part. Isn't that like the whole onion? Slater was in the basement. See what that turns into so far. Slater was melting a tree with a flamethrower and a shovel. The firefighters had to move back, and he'd keep moving up the mountain. The firefighters didn't have any way of getting over the hill, and it was getting dark out. They started pulling back a bit. He was burning trees that were not even on the mountain, just on the hill. I was just sitting here watching. He just went over the hill, I think, with a fireman, but he got to the top. He had no idea where to go or what to do. His arms were burning. His chest was burning, and he was doing everything he could to keep going up the hill. What in the world? Oh, I've got my fan on. That's a problem. That was probably very noisy for the microphone. Slater was melting a frozen pond with a blowtorch in March of 2014. And she has since admitted using a device to melt the ice on her driveway, and even used it to melt frozen pipes in her kitchen. A judge in Washington County, Indiana, is expected to hand down a sentence soon. You're gonna put her in jail for using a blowtorch to melt ice? But for now, the woman has been ordered to perform 300 hours of community service, pay $2,700 in restitution, do 80 hours of community service, and take anger management classes. What? For just using a blowtorch to melt ice? The judge also ordered shedders to not return to the property for at least 10 years, and that she will be banned from any property with children living in it until after the probation is out. The victim, in her case, a mother who is also ordered to take counseling, has a 3.5-year-old child named Max. I like how it used a decimal. Slater was also ordered to pay $9,000 for the damage to the property. She was melting ice, to the property, which cost $10,000 to repair. What? Big Boy and Buddy landed on a strange planet. Okay, this is pretty weird. Big Boy and Buddy landed on a green planet full of flying squids and were attacked by a giant squid. Buddy was bitten but escaped through a tunnel he made in its throat. What? Where he found his friends. What? After Buddy left, Bud was seen again in a dream. Oh, so it does the Bud thing like Talk to Transformer. And in another dream, he was seen as a fish. Bud was sent to a world where he was attacked by a large squid that was saved by Bud in a cave. In the dream Bud was in, he saw a world there where there was a giant squid, where he was in a giant squid's throat. Well, you were in a giant squid's throat because you made a tunnel in it somehow. But after you went on a ride through the squid's throat, that is so weird. He came out of its throat. Oh, so it threw him up. Good. And he was in the green world again. Bud was seen once in a dream where he was in a cave. He was bitten in his mouth. What? And was in the dream where he was with the gang. Bud was then sent to a world where he was in a green planet and saw a giant squid that he escaped the squid. He then was in a dream and saw a world where his friends were in. But he was in a dream, and he was with a huge green squid that he escaped. What? A huge green squid. In a dream, Buddy saw a world where his parents were there, and the giant squid in the dream was in his throat. What? But he saw his mother there, and he and his family were in a dream. Bud was then sent to a world where he was in his throat. Where he was in his throat. And he found the green world. Where he saw his mother and friends there. What about his father? Does he not have one anymore? In another dream, Bud was in a dream. He was in a cave, and he saw two worlds. He was in the green world and saw his parents. But he was in another world, in the other world, where his mother was there. Bud was then sent to a world where he was in his mouth and saw two worlds. That is bizarre. He was in a green world and saw his parents, the green world. In a dream, Bud was in a cave. Okay, it's looping. And he saw a world where his father was there. Okay, that's the first time his father showed up. Turtles with guns. What is this? It acknowledged Big Boy. Big Boy and Buddy landed on a green planet full of flying squids and giant turtles with tiny guns. Oh! I'm a big boy and I'm a budgie. I'm a big boy and Buddy. Yay! Big boy. My name is Big Boy and I'm Buddy. My name is Buddy and I'm a big boy. What? I'm not sure how. Giant turtles with tiny guns. Oh boy. Flying whales. Floating fish. They flew. Big Boy and Buddy landed on a green planet full of flying squids and flying whales. They landed in a lush forest full of purple flowers. They flew around a giant flower and flew through trees and flew through clouds and flew around an even larger one. An even larger what? They landed in a lake full of floating fish. They flew through a huge forest full of blue butterflies. And they landed in a forest full of yellow butterflies. They flew past and onto the blue sky. They flew around a forest full of red butterflies. They flew around a green forest full of flying squirrel. What? What is this? Big Boy and Buddy landed on a green planet full of flying squids and a giant lizard-like creature. What will Buddy find? A giant tree? A planet of flowers? A planet where the sky is blue? Or will he find a world ruled by a giant tree? Buddy! The giant tree monster is an exciting adventure story in its own right, and I think you'll find it a great way to explore the universe of our world with your favorite heroes. But I think you'll also find that it has the ability to really stretch your imagination. Okay? I would like it to be like a whole story about how this planet is ruled by a giant tree. That'd be so cool. Big Boy and Buddy landed on a green planet that was ruled by a giant tree with a big blue man. What? The blue man looked like a big red-headed man with blue arms on the side and was the biggest tree in the world. The blue man had a big blue head and a blue body, and he wore a blue robe that hung down to his feet. The blue man had an enormous blue beard and was bald, and he had a big blue mouth and a big blue tongue. And he had 2 giant blue eyes. So he's an anime character. And he had no teeth because he was wearing a purple helmet with 2 blue horns and an orange mouthpiece. That's the reason. And his helmet's eye was on his back. What? Buddy was in the blue man's tree. And the blue man told Buddy that there was a hole in the tree that went through to the big blue hole. He told Buddy there would be other holes, and each hole would be bigger than the last. There would be other trees with holes, and each tree would be bigger than the one before. So Buddy, this is bizarre. So Buddy went into the next hole in the tree, and he was there for 10 minutes. That's oddly specific. Then he was in another tree with another big red-headed man. The next hole was the smallest, and then the next, and the smallest, and so on. It was all happening very slowly. One hole was the size of a basketball. Then there was one the size of a tennis ball, the size of the moon, and Buddy was in the largest one, which was the size of a car. I think that the size of the moon would be a lot bigger, and made it very hard for Buddy to walk. And then the next hole was a little room with 2 blue men and a little man in front of them. What? Buddy was in the little room, and his body was covered with a big blue cloak, and he was wearing a large purple robe. But the blue man had no teeth, and he had the most beautiful eyes. When Buddy left the big blue room, there were more trees with holes. Then Buddy went in a big tree with more holes. But Buddy was so scared that he couldn't walk out of one tree. So he was in a small tree with a couple of holes in it, but none of them were big enough to get out of. How'd you get in them? Then suddenly there was a big hole in one of the trees, and Buddy was able to run out of that hole and come back in. Why'd you go back in? When he came back, he heard the big blue man tell the little blue man to go away. But they were in the... Okay, I'm going to stop right here. So anyway, I'll end this video here. So if you liked it, please subscribe, like, and whatever. Pay your respects to Talk to Transformer. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.